That's right.
Our guest is the CEO of a real estate and hospitality investment platform. Today, she's here to share insights in how people can rethink the way they invest. Please welcome Kathy Collin. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Dan. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Well, my pleasure to have you here. I was in New York many years ago and I had flown in from the United Kingdom. And I flew in, and my friend picked me up from the airport. And once I came through the airport, I had to answer all these security questions, and I wanted to be really honest. And the TSA said, "Where are you staying?" I said, "I don't know." They said, "What's the address of your hotel?" I said, "I don't know." "What's the name of your hotel?" "I have no idea at all." And they said, "Well, we can't let you into the country until you give us a place to stay, a residence address, and a telephone number." And I
Sounds
said, "I've got my mate
ridiculous.
outside waiting for me." So they were really nice, and they went outside and they found my mate. They brought him in. They gave him he gave them all the details, and away we went. And we had
Okay,
a.
they didn't even let you in the country.
They wouldn't let me in, and I thought they were going to send me home, but they were so polite because I was being so honest. I'm 22.
Well,
Whatever question you've
that'll
got for
work.
me, I'll answer.
That'll work. How did you like New York?
I loved it. I've been there many times, and I've seen it many times in the season. So the first season that I went there would have been in July, so it was right in the middle of the summer.
Oh,
And my image of New York would have been previously from Home Alone. So
oh,
seeing it in the winter.
Christmas. Yes,
But I got there and it was
classic.
stinking hot. And the vibe was bright. People were friendly. People were chirpy. And I'd seen it in the summer. And then I probably came back a decade later and saw it in the middle of winter. And it was two totally different cities from
Absolutely.
the sweltering summer of heat of summer to how cold it was in winter. And the snow was probably, I would say, about 4 foot high in the sides of the streets.
Oh, wow.
And it was worlds apart. Still people bright, optimistic, very happy, but the environment shifted.
That's the beauty of the season. We have changing seasons, and you're totally right. It looks totally different from summer to winter. Fall is actually beautiful, and spring is too. But it has many different phases, and it changes along the way.
I think when we travel, and especially when we buy real estate, it's nice to be able to see places in all of their seasons. I've just come back from Australia, 5 weeks there, and it's autumn, so it's cooling down. It still gets up to about 25 degrees Celsius during the day,
Oh, wow.
but in the afternoon, the leaves of the trees are turning red and orange, and they're all falling off the
Oh,
trees down to the ground. So day after day, the trees become more bare, and that lets more sunlight in to the
yeah.
yard. But it's a totally different vibe.
Sunlight is so good for you. Vitamin D.
Well, I think this is one of the things that you're talking to your clients about as well, isn't it? About
All
things
the
like
time.
the elements when it comes to investing.
All the time. Yes.
What's your take on sunshine? Living obviously in a big city, there's probably some apartments that get exposed to little to no sunlight. Why is sunlight important in what you're doing?
Sunlight, I mean, regulates everything. We see the shift when the the clock turns back an hour during winter. There's seasonal depression, people gain more weight, they're less active, and pounds come on, they're sedentary, and that is so bad for you. Like being sedentary is equivalent to like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. So it impacts your health in just a horrific way. So that's for New York City. So I spend my time between the New York City and the Dominican Republic. Dominican Republic, outdoor living, sunny, beautiful, bright. It's like California weather, but a little bit hotter. And it's so good for you. It's so uplifting. Dominican Republic has one of the most highest indexes for happiness because it's always sunny outside. People that are sick, that recovering from illnesses or elderly, needing more time in the sun, and sun just makes everything better. including your
Mm.
vitamin D. And we know that a lack of vitamin D causes so many health problems. And so everyone needs their vitamin D.
I absolutely believe all of those. I know I spent some time in the United Kingdom before I went to New York, and I'd heard of seasonal effectiveness disorder, but I'd never seen it in Australia. And I got to the United Kingdom and they had these gloomy days. It was like the sun didn't even come out for weeks on end. The
100%.
skies were grey. You get up in the morning, it's dark. You go to work, you come home, and it's dark. And people were depressed. You could see the seasonal effectiveness disorder in them.
100%. That's just like the UK is equivalent to Seattle. Seattle is very gray, gloomy, Seattle, Washington. And so many people have this seasonal depression, but the reason that they stay in Seattle is because the spring and the summer is so beautiful. And same thing with the UK, right? But it
Mm.
100% impacts your mood, impacts your productivity, and sunlight is very important. It's a key factor in life.
I think we forget about it. I know in my office here, I've got all these different coloured LED lights. And the more that I learn about the LED lights, the more I realize that they're actually poisonous to us. And it's no substitute for that natural light. There's other things like sunbeds and red light therapy, but it's still no substitute for the real thing. And I think even in my apartment where I live, I don't get direct sunlight into my office, but I crave it. So by lunchtime, I want to get out of the apartment. I want to go for a walk. I want to sit next to the river. I want to absorb the direct sunlight. And I'll go and bathe in it for half an hour a day. And it changes my whole mood. But I feel the sun even penetrates through my clothes, through my skin. I feel it going through to my organs and my bones. And definitely it ends up in the soul as well.
100%. And the key word that you said there is craving. And one of the things that really make our rhythm system, circadian system, regulate is when you wake up in the morning, you go outside, you let your eyes see the sunlight. That actually sets up your day to let you know, okay, it's morning, it's afternoon, I'm getting tired, and my melatonin is going to kick in. I need to crawl into bed. So the sun is very healing in many different ways. So that's why being by a body of water, nature, ocean, the sunlight, it heals you inside out, without a doubt.
Mm, mm. This is not a typical conversation I'd expect to have with somebody who's talking about property investing, which
I'm
is
a public
surprising
health
and it's nice.
I'm a public health professional, and I've been in healthcare for more than 20 years, and I have a master's in public health, and this is what I do.
Talk me through that background and what got you into real estate.
I never actually set out to do real estate. I've always had a really big knack for it. Let me just clarify that. I've always, in New York, I would go borough by borough. I would always be curious, how much does this house cost? How does it change from one year to another year pricing? So I've always been fascinated with architecture and buildings and pre-war and all that good stuff in New York City. But my purpose in life has always been to help other people. That's why the healthcare industry was really good for me. So half of my career was in medical devices. The second half was in health tech. And I my last corporate job, I worked for IBM, Salesforce, Microsoft was my last job as a principal, and I was laid off. So when I was laid off, I was looking at a multitude of different businesses, mainly around the healthcare sector, spas, and things of that, because I like to help people. So it was truly by accident. This real estate happened. I was caring for a loved one, and my loved one pretty much suggested, "Well, why don't you invest in a villa?" And it took me such a long time to find my villa. It was super challenging. It was in another country. I didn't know how to really navigate it, although my parents are Dominican. So it took me, it was a long journey. Then I got the villa, wasn't able to use it, needed to kind of rent it out, put up a website, and my entire community just Like, oh my goodness, why don't you decorate my villa? Why don't you, what are you doing? Can you get my property up there for sale? And it went from like a rental to a sales business. And next thing you know, I was invited to write about wellness on Hotel Executive and how to really change the mundane way of hosting a guest. And then I was starting to get like, we have this hotel for sale. Can you come talk to us about how to enhance the wellness aspect? Because wellness is such a hot topic for people that get away. And that's how it kind of just kept on growing and developing organically. It was by accident.
Wow. I spent time in hospitality, but before that, I was in real estate. So I went hospitality, real estate,
Okay.
hospitality, consulting.
Super.
And and I know with my hospitality training, especially with Emirates Airline, environment was so important. There were so many things that they factored in to the client experience, and wellness was very important for them as well. Because we would get people flying from New York to Dubai, and then they'd do another crazy flight to another part of the world. And sometimes they'd be on these aircrafts, if they're coming from America, New York, minimum of 12 to 14 hours, and they want to make sure that there's a great customer experience. And it was beyond the service. Everybody can serve chicken, everybody can serve beef, but not everybody can create a particular environment. And talking about circadian rhythms and our internal clock, Emirates Airline had their systems trained so that uh, the color scheme in the cabin would change
Hmm.
as we went through different time zones. So if it was dusk in New York and we were leaving, the mood and the ambient in the aircraft turned to dusk. So the color
Beautiful.
scheme would change. And then
Hmm.
if we were flying over towards the Middle East and the sun was rising, the color schemes would change. And that was all about the circadian rhythms. It was teaching people circadian clock how to keep up with the local time zone.
Absolutely. And then you also have people taking pictures, having good experience. Oh, this is so pretty. It makes you feel good, right? What's the
Yeah.
difference between a 4 and a 5 star hotel? What's the difference?
In my opinion,
Mm,
number one would probably be the
that,
service offering.
that is it. That's it.
That's it.
There's no difference between a 4 and a 5 star. The only difference is the service. When you're coming in the door, you're like 4, 5 feet before someone to purchase you, you smile at them, you greet
Mhm.
them. It's just the small little minutia things. How do
Mm.
you like maybe take someone's suitcase tag and match them up with an activity with someone else that's like-minded? How do you connect people so that they socialize and so that they're not so isolated? Just like a million different ways to increase the quality of service.
It's what people remember. It was like with Emirates Airline, having the Polaroid photo and the hat on the children. That was important for the kids' experience because they love that. And it's also important for the future of the business because that's the future customer. And like you're saying here, everybody's going to go from A to B. It doesn't matter what aircraft you're on. You're going to get a seat, you're going to get fed, you're going to get a selection of drinks. That's just an absolute given in the industry. But it was the service delivery. And Emirates Airline, they spent millions of dollars figuring out what the customer wanted and what the customer didn't want, even down to our premium cabins. So, premium cabins would include business and first class. For business class people, they didn't care so much about what was on the menu. So, let's say you're a Muslim customer traveling to New York, you don't care about the alcohol, you don't care about the wine list. But what they recognized by customer surveys and getting close to the customer is the customer just wanted to get recognized.
Mm.
So if you were walking towards the aircraft door, you've got your cabin crew standing at the front, smiling, and they welcome you by name.
Oh wow, that's so personalization.
It's Colin. Colin,
Hello,
welcome back to Emirates. And it was like, oh, wow.
they know.
Somebody knows my name. And
Yeah.
then we would address them by their first name or their family name. And that was more important to them than anything else. because those people, if you've travelled in business and first class before, people who get upgraded from economy to business class, in Arabic we say Abu Balesh Kato Menno, which means if there's anything for free, give me more. So people who have been upgraded to business class want everything that's on the menu. But for people who travel business and first class all the time,
They don't
they
bother you
don't care about the menu. They just
no,
want to get in, put the blanket on over their head,
and get out.
not be disturbed, and give me a double espresso 30 minutes before landing. So those little things are important in
It's the
service.
little things that count. What is the one of the things that I actually learned was what is the best memory a family can have?
Time.
One of the best memories a family can have is a family vacation because you're always together related to time and you can always go back and say we took a vacation to I don't know Thailand, Mexico, wherever, UK, and it's memorable and you carry this with you, so the airplane experience is also very important.
Some people, like Australians and British, they travel a little bit different. So if you're traveling from Sydney to Dubai to London, the flight for a lot of Aussies is a part of the holiday. And that journey is to be enjoyed. And Emirates Airline, they know this. And what they do is they open up the bar. It's an open bar, and a lot of Aussies will drink nonstop for free from Sydney to Dubai. They're absolutely cooked by the time they get to Dubai, but they get a second wind and they drink all the way to the UK. And they love it. They stand up, and if you have a look at the Emirates A380, in the upper deck, in the business class area, there's a lounge bar. And it's designed specifically for hospitality, to go there, to
Mm,
enjoy your time on the aircraft, to make that a part of the journey. It's not just transport, it's part of the journey. It's like the destination. You get on the aircraft and you're on party mode.
yes, and who doesn't want to go on a party while they're traveling?
I don't think many Aussies would say no.
No,
They
I
wouldn't
don't know
say
how
no at
some
all.
families would feel with little kids, but for the most part, adults want to have a good time.
Mm. Talking about time and memories, what are some of your early childhood experiences with your family? Memories on holidays? Did you have a favourite one?
I had a regular annual trip, which were with my grandparents from New York City to the farmhouse. So, talk about two different worlds. This went on from 3 years old to about 18. And then when I went off to college, it stopped. But every single year, my family and I would go to my grandparents' house to the farm with horses, cows, chickens, goats. They had a lagoon. You could go horseback riding, and it's the extreme opposite from being in New York City, where like everything's like city blocks and concrete. And those, like what I learned during those times, and compared to my friends who didn't have that, it's another culture, how to integrate, how to do different things, how to get your hands dirty, how to plant, how to garden, how to ride a horse. So many, that's such a foreign thing to so many of my friends. But now I have a love and a passion for horses, and that directly comes from my childhood vacations experiences. And I have so many beautiful memories with my grandparents that I will forever treasure. So they meant the world to me.
Mm. We never had a holiday destination as a family, meaning we'd never go to the same place every year. We didn't have a holiday house. And I didn't really want one. But now that
Okay.
I'm a father and I've got
Uh-huh.
children, what I find is that going on holidays is extremely tiring on my autonomic nervous system. And I feel that after I go on a holiday, I need a holiday just to recover from the holiday.
Well, how many kids
And
do you have,
recent,
Daniel?
I've got two, including my wife, so I've got three.
Oh my God. How old are they?
And I was saying to her recently, I said, let's take the kids on a holiday, but
Hmm.
let's just go to the same place. She's like, oh, that's so boring. I said, every time we go somewhere different, whether it's Bangkok, or Seoul or Tokyo, I feel it takes me days to become accustomed to the environment. I don't know the sounds, I don't know the smells. I'm always trying to look for my hotel. And I'm exhausted neurologically. My body's stressed. I feel it's stuck in that fight or flight response.
Hmm.
And I said, I don't want to have that experience anymore. I just want to go to a hotel that I know where the location is. I know where my favorite restaurant is. I know where the train station is. I know where the shops are. And we made that decision a couple of years ago that we would just go to the same hotel in the same place. And the season might change, but we know where it is. And what we've learned is that we go there, we settle into the holiday immediately, and we come home energized and recharged. I don't feel like I need another holiday. And then I learned that a lot of other people in real estate were talking about holiday destinations and saying that every time you go to a new destination, your nervous system goes into a state of stress because it's trying to figure out the environment. It's not used to the smells, it's not used to the temperature, it's not used to the food, and your body's trying to make this adjustment. And then just as you're ready to go home, it kind of settles into it.
That is
So
so
I'm actually preferring as I get older just to have one place to go to, even a holiday apartment, just to say, I'm going to go there and I don't have to make another decision.
100%. I was actually having that same exact conversation with one of my neighbors that was really upset that her husband bought this destination condo beachfront, and why do we have to go there all the time? We can just go to so many different places. And she was so angry. She said I almost divorced him. That was so. But I said to her, I was like, look, you're gonna meet a community. You're gonna have memories. Your kids are gonna go there. That is gonna be the spot where you guys all get together. You have friends over. You have community, and you can always go to somewhere to another place. But that is like your home away from home. What is so awful about having a home away from home that your kids, your husband, and your family, friends can go crash at whenever you want throughout the year? And then actually, she came back 6 months later and she says, you know what? I love this idea that when I'm not here, I can rent it out. I don't have to think about it. And when I want it, I can just use it. So it is a win win.
Mm. I think it's fantastic. My uncle owns chalets down in the Australian ski fields and he's had them for 20 plus years and he rents it out at peak season. And when it's vacant, he'll go and stay in it. But if he really wants it for him and his family, he'll just say it's not available. And it's so simple because he just goes to the same place. He knows where he wants to ski. He knows which runs he likes to do. And there's no extra decision making. He just
Yeah.
goes down there and comes home. Even in Taiwan, I have my
Oh,
favorite
well.
hotel,
Uh-huh.
and the hotel has spring fed pools. And my wife says, oh, you're so boring. I'm like, I know what to expect. It might not be 5 star, it might be 3.5 star, but I go there. I know exactly how much it's going to cost me to go to the pools. I know which pool I like, which one I don't like. I know where I can go to lunch afterwards and how long it takes me to get home.
Hmm.
There's no decision fatigue at all. I don't have to make any decisions other than when I go. And for
Yeah.
me, as I get a little bit older, I'm only 46, it's just preserving so much energy because I feel that as we get older, we have to make so many decisions. And another decision, like thinking that I've got to go to another hotel, it could be better, but there could be a risk that it might not be as good as the other one. There could be a risk that I get there and the pool's not as good. I'm only talking about a $10 swim. But as I get to the stage where I say, I would rather be a creature of comfort. I'd rather stay in my comfort zone than constantly run the risk of a disappointment.
I think you nailed it with the fact that just at this age, you want certainty, you want reliability, and you want to be stable, and you don't want to make another decision. Maybe you're like 20 something, you're ready to bounce around and try different things and go to different places, and it's not exhausting and and it's really exhilarating. But there is some truth to having some peace and order when it comes to where you're staying. It's just like I have so much on my plate, and I will go there, and I don't have to think about anything. I know which pool I like what you said, and where to eat, and that is very comforting.
I think coming back to memories of time, as you were mentioning time before,
Hmm.
I don't have time to waste. I've got money to play with, but I don't have time to waste because if I get 3 hours off or 4 hours off one day from consulting,
Hmm.
I know that I've only got that time, and time, like money, you can only spend it once. So I know that if I have 4 hours to spend, I want to get maximum ROI. But if I miss that window, it's like money. Once I spend it, I can't get it back.
Gone.
And it's the time that's becoming more important.
More precious. Hmm. I agree.
So precious. I spent some time at my parents' property in Australia, and it's in the middle of nowhere. It's a long way from the city, and it's quiet, deadly quiet. You can hear the train going over the train tracks about 15 kilometres away. And it's so quiet. And they've lived there for about 40 years. And I know it's very good for my autonomic nervous system because there's a lot of green grass. There's some kangaroos down the backyard. There's a small
Beautiful.
flowing river, which we call a creek, and it's quiet. And there's nature sounds. And when I get there, I realize how noisy Taiwan is because I go there and it's absolute quiet. If there's a possum in the tree, I can hear the possum. If there's an owl, ooh, I can hear the owl in the tree. Takes a little bit of time for the nervous system to catch up, but I believe you start to heal from two things: sun, but also silence. And those places that bring you some silence, I start to value more as I get older.
I completely agree. Having a sense of calmness, peacefulness is very, very grounding. There's so many studies and different academic journals about nature and biophilic and greenery and what it does to you. Lowers your cortisol levels, lowers your cholesterol, and really what you just mentioned heals you from the inside out. Just being in nature, even putting your feet in the sand and rubbing your feet in the sand, you electromagnetic waves. Um, when you leave the beach, you feel much better. When you're in nature, you feel much better. People that are in nature, feeling the vibration of earth, actually heal more faster. If they have some sort of chronic disease, helps them to with the disease, manage it or become easier. So there's so many different benefits to being in nature and even being around animals too.
Mm. I dropped 10 kilos in 5 weeks whilst I was traveling in Australia. And I believe a big part of that is because of environment. First of all, I work from home and I live at my home. So on a rainy day like this in Taiwan, I might only leave the apartment for 1 hour in a day. That's not healthy. I know it's
No,
not healthy.
no,
And
especially
I know that the body, because I'm always in the environment of work, it's easy to think about work all the time. And I know my adrenal glands are working overtime. And I know that because I can eat the right food, but my belly gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's because of the non-stop adrenaline and the cortisol being released into the body. And then I go to a place like Australia, I change the environment. It's a dry climate, so my body doesn't hold as much water. So automatically, the body lightens up and a lot of the fluid passes quickly. Because I'm in nature, walking barefoot on the grass, being exposed to natural sunlight, the sun coming through the windows in the morning and seeing it set at night, my circadian rhythms get a better balance. And then the weight just starts to drop off with some really good food. 10 kilos in
well,
5 weeks.
that's
And I feel fantastic.
substantial. I,
Mm.
I bet you do because when you're in your home environment, your hormones are going wild. Just sitting down, not moving around. But then when you go outside and you combine it with good, wholesome, healthy foods, I mean, that is just win, 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 win.
You can't lose. I
No.
got up every morning, I looked down and went, gee whiz, I'm getting slimmer. And I know it's from, it's like they call it a sea change.
Hmm.
It's an environmental change. And I believe that all of us are craving it, and especially when we go through our earning years. My first boss in real estate, he used to talk about three phases in life. He'd say learning phase, earning phase, and yearning phase. And he
Oh.
said, Daniel, you're in your learning phase. So at this stage, just focus on learning everything that you can, acquire as much knowledge as you can, acquire as much skill as you can, and
Mhm.
develop a positive attitude. And that will serve you well when you get into your earning years. And I said, well, when do the earning years start? I said, because I'm making nothing now. He said, well, you're probably going to have about 40 years on average where you can earn a lot of money. He said, so if you're 20, it might be from 20 to 60. And he said, the purpose of your earning years is to set you up for your yearning years.
Huh.
And I said, okay, so learning,
Clever.
I got that. 20 years of learning, maybe a little bit more. Earning years, 40 years. And then the yearning years. And I said, well, what happens in the yearning years? He says, well, you get to reap the fruits of the learning and the earning years. And so let's say that's your first 60 years of life. Your next 20 or your next 40, you get to enjoy all the fruits of
Oh.
everything, that you've planted, all the seeds that you've planted. And one of his big things was, learning about real estate. And he said, Daniel, before you officially become a real estate agent, I want you to do one thing. I said, what's that? He said, I want you to buy a house. I said, me buy a house? I'm 19. I'm in my learning years. He says, that's going to change really quickly. And I asked him his logic. I said, what would be the purpose of purchasing a piece of real estate? He said, because it's the most stressful thing that people will ever go through in their life is buying and selling a property. And he said, if you want to become a good real estate agent, I recommend that you at least buy your first property so you know what it's really like to go through and to jump through all of those hoops. Because in your career, you're going to ask hundreds, if not thousands of people to do that.
So did
And
you
if you
buy,
hadn't had that
Daniel?
experience yourself, but
Did you buy at 19?
I did.
And how did it go?
It was
This
a
is
terrible
great
experience.
advice, by the way.
it was
I'm taking notes.
it was a terrible experience.
Oh
And the
no.
reason why I say it was terrible is because reality sets in. It's all well and good to have a dream and a goal. And as soon as we start to dream, the body releases endorphins and they're nature's happy drugs. And it feels so good. I'm going to be a property investor.
Hmm.
But reality sets in and you realize that, oh, you need to start to make some sacrifices. So for me at 19, it was, I've got to give up my sports. And that
Oh.
was really hard because I was a competitive athlete. But if I wanted to achieve this new goal, I had to bring this earning phase forward. So I got into real estate. I had to study, I had to learn, and I also had to start to save. And at the start of the journey, you don't have a lot of disposable income. So I had to make sacrifices. I couldn't go out and drink with the boys. I couldn't party with the boys. I couldn't have all the latest clothes at that stage
Hmm.
because it's, what do they say? The law of excluded alternative. If I want to have the alcohol and the nightclubs and the parties and the tables, I got to go without the house. But I understood the importance of these yearning years. So I made the sacrifices. I worked really hard. I saved up a deposit and then I started to house hunt. And there was many things that I could buy, but I had to find what was good for me. And what was good for me was buying a property locally where I sold real estate. And that was one of the conditions that my boss said, you must purchase locally. He said, because you want to sell residential houses. You're not selling investments, Daniel. You're selling residential houses. And the fact that you own a house in this area is a signal to other people that, hey, it's a good thing to buy in this area. I'm
Hmm.
an owner of a property here. So I did that and it was tough. I had to go without, but then I got the property and then I had to be able to maintain it. But through that experience, my goals also shifted. because I wanted to buy the first house. I wanted to pay it off as quickly as I could. So I set a new standard on my life. I set bigger goals for income so I could bring down the mortgage even quicker. So it wasn't easy, but it was worth it. And then by 21, I was buying my second property. So I had equity in the first one. First one was about $180,000. That was a long time ago. The second one was about 300,000, but I had equity and I had experience. And then I bought an investment property in a different area.
So you must have been the killer realtor. Now you had a ton of experience.
I had the experience, and what I would say today is it made me more compassionate. And in selling today, one of the reasons why people buy is because of the emotion and the feeling of compassion. Hey, this person knows what I'm going through. I'm not sympathetic down in the pit of despair with them, but I know what it's like. I know what it's like to argue with people over money, to have different opinions on what you should buy and why you shouldn't buy, and to have tenants. It's a very rewarding experience. It matures you quickly.
That's a big headache too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
You're 22, you got $500,000 of mortgages, and everybody's out drinking, and you're sitting at home thinking, gee, how can I eat mum and dad's food for another couple of years? But it
That's
gave me
true.
options. And as I transitioned different careers and had different experiences, I was able to use that money to invest in businesses in the future. So it had set me up very well for my earning years. So
Your mentor, boss person completely gave you the best advice. I'm actually thinking about some kids that I can share this with. Thank you.
my pleasure. We should start to think about investing. My children, they invest in stocks, and they're
Oh,
14 and 9. And my boy already understands the money market. He knows when things are red and when's green, when to buy and when to sell. And I think we should start at a young age learning how to invest, because when we get into those earning years and we start our own businesses, there's no guarantee in business. But if you can have something stable like real estate that you can fall back onto, and kind of real estate, what I learned was you learn how to get paid 24 hours a day. And you can't do that in your
can't do that
normal
anymore.
business
Yes,
or if you're employed. But in real estate, it's just I'm going to get paid every hour,
yes,
and it doesn't matter what's happening with the weather.
literally. Or if I'm sleeping or not.
Yeah. I think that's the dream, isn't it? Everybody wants to earn whilst they sleep.
That is also a very good suggestion. I have a colleague friend of mine that his son is got into investing at 17. He's now making 300K a year, and he's actually buying his very first apartment. And his parents are like, "Well, we just bought our first vacation home, and our son is going straight to buying his first vacation home, and he's only 19." I mean, he's going to have a pretty sweet future, that's for sure.
His earning years are going to be long, but there's going to be a nice big overlap with his yearning years, and he's going to be able to enjoy it for a very long time.
Absolutely. And who wouldn't want to do that is the question.
Well, my greatest regret was selling my first two investment properties, because the advice from the accountant was, Daniel, you've made all the money you can possibly make on these properties in terms of tax incentives. He said, what you should do is you should get rid of them.
Hmm.
And at that time, investing in real estate, we didn't see this huge growth. You know, that property that I bought for 180,000, it would probably be worth at least, we'll call it $1 million today. And we didn't see those big growth spurts years ago. The property that I bought for 350,000, that's probably worth 1.3 million today. You know, knowing what you now know. And I think everybody realizes that when you buy assets like real estate, you should be keeping it for the long term. Market goes up, market goes down, you're still getting your rent return, but it always goes up over time.
If you could do it all over again, would you still have the same method? or would you do it
I would
differently? Keep it.
I'd still have those two properties, absolutely 100%,
Don't sell it.
and I would have found an accountant who gave better financial advice. Because what I realized is accountants aren't necessarily financial advisors. They're good at accounting, they're good at keeping the books straight, they're good at bookkeeping, they're good at doing your tax, but it doesn't mean they're specialists in financial advice. And if I would have had better financial advice, I could have had more options.
Now
That's
you
what I'd do.
know how to set up your son or daughter.
But I was ignorant, like all of us, aren't we? There's so much that
We live and we
we
learn,
don't
right?
know.
So now you got that wisdom and you share it with others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Your clients are obviously wanting to set themselves up for better earning and yearning years. What are you doing differently with your people when it comes to purchasing real estate?
Well, twofold. For my um, people that are retiring, people that are investing, depending what year, what status you are, I pretty much customize the process. The Dominican Republic is a very big hidden secret. Not many people know about it. Like just like myself, I didn't know where to go, what to do, what to buy, where, what was appreciating the most. And you have some places that are appreciating not in the double digits like 10, 12%, 20, 30. Beachfront properties 40%. So how much money do you have? Do you want to keep it like 5 years? Do you want to keep it like you just said 10, 15, 20 years? What is your goal? Do you want to make money from it? So I customize depending on what the client needs are. Someone that says to me, I just want an investment property. Beautiful. So let's just go. Let's do something on the beach, beachfront. Pre-construction. You get 15 years tax exemptions right now, which is who doesn't want to pay taxes? By the time it's built, it appreciates 30, 40% if you're beachfront. So that's a win-win-win. You don't pay any transfer taxes, come fully furnished, has a flag name like a Wyndham or something, or whatever, a brand name. And you don't have to worry about it. But by the time resale comes, you want to sell it, you need the funds, you have documentation. What has been the occupancy rate? How did it do? How often did it rent out? How much money you made for it? So you don't have to kind of like play guesswork. You could just say, here's how much money I made. And it's an easy sale for someone else that wants to pick it up. If you don't want to sell it, you keep it and you keep it generational, but different strokes for different folks. That's like an investor. I have the people that want to retire, or then you have the people that want to build legacy. They want to buy land, they want to develop. Like that's another process. That's a 10, 15-year process. They want to get their children, their grandchildren involved. And I want my grandchildren to work at a hotel and it's going to be our hotel. So that's all structured very differently,
Mhm. A lot of
depending on
Taiwanese,
who the
they
client
like
is.
to invest offshore because real estate here is very expensive and it has very little low rental return. And we find a lot of Taiwanese are now investing in Vietnam and specifically Thailand in Bangkok. They also invest in the Middle East, in Dubai and in Ras Al Khaimah and Abu Dhabi. And for them, they can get a better return on their equity offshore than onshore. So it's becoming very popular here as well.
Absolutely. Thailand is super hot. You have India coming over. You have all the big name brands that are building. It's actually my son was just there and he said, Mom, it's like such a party town. I really didn't look at it as a party town, but he says party town. It's like nightlife, always a lot of people, a lot of energy, big vibes. So I can understand why. The other regions, it would be very attractive depending upon like the tax incentives and credits and what the bang that you get for your buck. So I can totally
Mm,
see that.
mm. Kathy, thank you for joining me. For our audience who would like to learn more about investing and in real estate and how you and your team are doing it differently, where should they follow you on social media or what's your website?
Sure. My website is www.nova, N-O-V-A, Lux, Lux, drproperties.com. I am on Instagram at NovaLuxDR is my handle. On Facebook, NovaLuxDR Properties. Happy to reach out. Kathy Cologne here at your service.
Kathy, thanks for joining me and have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Daniel. You too. Thank you.